And this is my storytelling bike. And today I'm going to tell you some stories from Dartmoor. Have you been to Dartmoor? Yes. You have been to Dartmoor. Great. And if you haven't been to Dartmoor, then I'm about to take you there. So the rain is a bit, it might rain, it might not rain. And a good way to keep the rain off is to match rain with rain. So to start off with, we're just going to ask you to do a little bit of clapping. So first of all, it goes like this. Actually, I think I need my helpful assistant. Would you mind, random lady in the audience, please, coming and helping me? And what's your name?
My name's Debbie.
Oh, this is Debbie. No, we've never met. Would you like to hold my microphone, please? So first of all, you go like this. That's it. And we're going in a circle. So over here, you keep doing that till I come back to you. But over here, you start going like that. And then you start going like that. And then you start going like this. And then you start going like this. And we have to really listen to each other. And then we can start going. And then we haven't got our feet. Okay, and then over here again. There. This first story is called The Dartmoor Midwife. And the Dartmoor Midwife was a lady called Merida, Nurse Merida. Nobody knew where she'd come from. She wasn't from the village. But what people did know in the village was that she was a very good midwife. Whenever anybody wanted to have a baby, and they were ready to have their baby, they always called for Nurse Merida. Because when she came, the babies that she helped into the world were plump and beautiful and healthy, and the mothers were safe as well. They didn't know how she did it, but they always knew they could trust her. But on the night of this story, it was a terrible, rainy summer's day, just like today. It might have even been the terrible Dartmoor storm of 1686, when the lightning struck the tower of the church in Widdicombe. But it was a stormy, stormy night in the middle of summer, and Nurse Merida, she tucked herself up for an early night. And while she was in bed, she heard a knocking at the door. Oh, and she turned over like you do when you're really tired in bed and you just want to sleep. But the knocking came louder and louder and louder until she was forced to go from her bed and open the window. And when she opened her window, she looked down and she saw a man, a small man, on the back of a horse. And the small man looked up to her and he pleaded with his eyes and he said to her, "Please, Merida, please can you come and help me? Come and help my wife. She's in terrible pain with the child, and children are rare with us now." And Nurse Merida said, "I'm not coming out on a night like this for anybody." He said, "I have gold." And Merida liked the sound of that. 10 golden guineas I have to give to you." And it was then that she got her cloak and she went down the stairs and opened the door. And he said to her, "You cannot know where we're going. I'm going to have to blindfold you. And in thanks for the favour, I could tell you about your past life if you like." But she said, no, thanks. I'll just get on with the job." And so he took his black cloth from his pocket, and he tied it around her eyes. And they rode. Across the moor they rode. I don't like using a microphone. It really puts me off. Anyway. Do I have to use it?
Yes. Okay. It's really loud.
I can't do my clapping now. I need Deborah again. Oh, here, this, yeah. Okay, because we're going to do clapping now, because for the horses. Okay. David, you're a good clapper. Thank you. It's live. Okay, So she gets on the back of the horse, and it's night time, and she rides up the hill, past the ivy trees and the oak trees and the hazel trees, up onto the moor, past Bear Down Farm, until she gets to the gorse and the wild hawthorn trees and the open moor, and around and up and down and twisting and turning she goes, till she gets to the lakes and through the forests, and she rides till morning, thinking she must be nearly in Lidford Gorge by now. She does not know where she is, but the horse slows and she gets off the horse, and the small man, the pixie man, he helps her down from the horse, and he takes off her blindfold, and a bucket of water's brought from a hovel close by, and she hears the sounds of the horse slurping the bucket of water. And when she can see again, she looks ahead and she can see a hovel just made of stones and bricks with no windows. And the pixie man, he takes her by the hand and he leads her inside the hovel. She has to bend down low, and it smells in there of old cabbage, and the floors have been swept for some months, and there are cobwebs everywhere. But he leads her into the darkness, and there he shows her where his wife is, the wife who's having the baby, who needs to have the helping hand of a kind and talented midwife. And Nurse Morada, she held the lady's hand all through the night, and she stroked her wet brow, and she nursed her and nursed her, until in the morning a little baby was born. Pardon? He was just a tiny boy. She could hold him in the palm of her hand. But you know, some children, they're born how they are, and this little boy was born angry. He was red and squealing and really cross, and he wriggled about in the palm of her hand. And the pixie man, he went to get a little jar of ointment from another room, and he brought it to Morada, and he gave it to her, and he said, "Rub some of this on the baby's eyes." And she did. And all of a sudden, that baby was just like you young children here, so plump and relaxed and happy and gentle. And this girl here, like when she was a baby, so beautiful and calm and round and cuddly. And the baby became like that. And she thought, this is what I need. This will be so helpful for me in my job. And she tried a little bit. She put a little bit on her finger, and she rubbed it on her eye. And when she opened that eye, the room was suddenly beautiful, and the old bed that the woman had been sleeping in, that had been practically rotten and falling apart, was now beautiful. And the old raggy covers were emerald velvet, and the child slept soundly in the fairy queen's arms. And the pixie man was good to his word. He handed over 10 golden guineas, and he said that he would now ride Nurse Morada back up to Holme on the edge of Dartmoor. And once again he had to put on the blindfold so that she couldn't see where she was going. And he handed over the money, and she went home again. And the good thing about this, I don't know if you've ever heard about fairy money. Sometimes if you get given money in the fairy world, when you take it back to our world again, it turns to brown leaves. Well, this money, it stayed, and she had 10 golden guineas, and nothing made Nurse Morada more happy than money. She thought to herself, I'm going to go down to Ashburton Market and buy myself some new curtains, a new bedspread, some lovely vegetables, maybe even some chicken and some nice eggs. And she tried the thing with her eye again, and when she shut that eye and opened that eye, her old curtains were beautiful. The cat on the end of her bed was like an Egyptian tiger. And her sight remained so clear that even when she got in the horse and cart to go down to Ashburton Market, she could even see the stars and the moon through the sunshine. And when she was in the market, she tried her trick with the eyes. And this is what it really looked like to you humans: a few old turnips and an old potato with some eyes in it. But when she opened her magic eye, it was abundance. Beautiful array of vegetables, flowers, breads and cheeses. But not only could she see the fantastic food, she could also see pixies and fairies just coming along and helping themselves to anything. And she looked over and she thought she saw the pixie man whose wife she had helped to have the baby, and he saw her, and he stopped where he stood before he walked over to her and he said, "With which eye do you see me?" And worriedly she pointed up to that eye, and then he blew in her eye. A long, cool breath hit her wet eyeball, turning it dry. And in that moment, I'm sorry to tell you that she lost her sight. And Nurse Merida never saw from that eye again, but she always knew that the fairy people were there, that the pixie people were there. And he said to her, I'm sorry to have to do this to you, because my wife liked you so much. She was so grateful that you helped her bring her child into the world. That pixie family, they never forgot what Nurse Merida did for them. And they always left her eggs and bread outside of her house. Really, she never wanted for anything. And if she never had enough money, she would sometimes find a golden coin left on the doorstep. They were always looking out for her. And I'm happy to tell you that that little baby grew up to be a fine pixie lad. And he still lives out there, or his children or his children's children are still out there living on Dartmoor. So keep your eyes peeled and keep your eyes safe. Thank you. That's the story of the Dartmoor Midwife. And that was told to you by moi, Isabella Necessity, and the drawings were by my lovely friend Cara.